Welcome, my friends. I am pleased you have decided to join me once again by the fire to discuss the spookier side of the Disney parks. I'm pleased that you joined me this week after last week's video, which was pretty terrifying, very loud, very witchy. Don't worry, this week's is going to be far more tame. You lied. Wait, no, I'm supposed to say that part out loud. In today's video, we will discuss the horrors that jump out of our screen, jump out of the attractions, and follow us around the parks. No, not scary animatronics, not scary sets or songs or sounds. We are talking about the scariest Disney parks characters. The ones whose costumes would make you shiver on sight. The wicked witches and the big bad wolves with their tongues just flailing around wildly. Today's video, we discuss the darker aspect of those friends who we love to stand in line and get their autographs for, and then sometimes we get to walk around Main Street with them, but it's usually just Main Street, not really any other parts of the parks, but that doesn't matter. I believe we should begin with the Disney villains, the scariest of the scary, the ones that are meant to evoke a sort of response in us. And where better to start than with number 10? We all love a good walk-around character. They're usually kind and cuddly and fun and ready to give you a high five or a hug, and that's all well and good, but that's not why we're here today, my friends. We're here to talk about the scariest of the scary, and at number 10, we're starting it a little easier, okay? There's nothing I hate more than characters from animated Disney films who are regular humans, just people, and are not portrayed that way in the park. Instead, the character will often wear a face shell or a sculpt over their face to make them look more screen accurate to the cartoon. The problem is, in cases like these, you get characters like Jafar. Jafar freaks me out, for lack of a better term. Maybe it's the eyes that are looking simultaneously nowhere and everywhere all at once. Maybe it's the scraggly gloves he has on to make his fingers look spindly and skeletal. Maybe it's the sheer imposing height that Jafar has on most everyone who meets him because of that giant turban and the feather. None of that matters to me though, because he is just absolutely terrifying. And with Jafar being a villain and all, he's not supposed to be kind and welcoming. He's supposed to be a little bit standoffish, you know, a little bit rude, and maybe it's just me, but that sort of adds to the unpleasantness of meeting him. Well, I guess unpleasantness isn't the word I would use. I still love meeting all of these characters, and I would love to meet all the characters on this list. The problem here is that Jafar is just a guy. Why not have a guy be Jafar? At some of the after hours events, they had a face character Jafar. During shows, they have a face character Jafar. Why not just have this guy do all of the meet and greets instead of, this guy? But don't worry, my friends, this is the tamest of the list, okay? We are just getting started because this is only number 10, and what comes after 10, of course, that would be number 9. Now, most of the characters one can meet at the Disney parks tend to be animals. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy is a dog that can walk, but Pluto is a dog who can walk in the parks, but not in the cartoons. Pluto's an actual dog. That still confuses me. There is, however, one character that is a very rare character encounter that you can't see all the time. She only comes out in special occasions, parades, and sometimes meet and greets during special throwback nights, should we say. And that is Madame Yupanova. Now you're asking yourself right now, offhand guy with a cloak, who is Madame Yupanova? I've never heard of the Disney character Madame Yupanova. But trust me, my friend, if you've seen some of the classic Disney movies, you have. Madame Yupanova is everywhere. Right under our noses this whole time, she's been planning, she's been plotting, and she is scary. Imagine a full-sized ostrich running at you at full speed, and that's about half the horror of Madame Yupanova at the Disney parks. Madame Yupanova is an ostrich from Walt Disney's 1940 film Fantasia, and she appears in the Dance of the Hours segment. Who is a ballet teacher or instructor for a bunch of other ostriches. You can see them in the background. She's also a ballerina. She's got a bow, she's got a little ribbon tied around her neck, and she's got ballerina shoes. And honestly, in the film, she's pretty adorable. She represents the dawn in the Dance of the Hours, and there's nothing bad here. She's just an ostrich dancing her heart out, and that's absolutely fine. The problem begins when we translate her into real life, from animation to the physical reality. The third dimension, our universe. That's when things get bad. Is she a diva? Yeah. Is she absolutely fabulous? Yes. Madame Yupanova is fabulous in the parks. The problem is that she's also really scary. Now, anthropomorphic ostrich with human legs, that's kind of spooky in of itself, but I think the real scary part here is the movement. I don't know what the cast member is doing here, but they make the movements so, I guess, ballerina-like, but it's an ostrich with giant eyes staring at you with all the feathers and all the extra accoutrement. It's unnerving. Now, this one, I admit, is a bit out of left field, and I'm fully ready to admit that I might be completely alone in this. I just want to know if there's anybody out there who gets what I'm saying. Maybe it's the face on the ostrich. Maybe it's the fact that it's wearing human clothes. Something about it just doesn't seem right to me, okay? And that's the problem that I have. The problem isn't that it's an ostrich. The problem is that it's a person dressed up as an ostrich, dressed up as a ballerina, pretending to act like a person, like it understands me. I can look into those vacant eyes of a real ostrich and know that it doesn't perceive the words that I'm speaking to it, but looking and speaking at Madame Yanova, knowing she comprehends everything I'm saying to her. It's the scariest thought a man can comprehend. Remember back in number 10 where we were talking about Jafar and how he's just a regular guy with a regular guy face, but they decided to make the character in the parks wear a mask and a face shell? This is that, but even scarier. The Fairy Godmother is one of the kindliest Disney characters there is. She's not a villain. She grants Cinderella a beautiful dress to go to the ball and impress the prince. She's just a kindly old lady who likes to sing. There's absolutely no way they could make her scary, right? Right? Now, luckily, as far as I know, Disney does not do this version of the costume in the stateside parks. At least not anymore. The Fairy Godmother, thank goodness, is a face character, and goodness, she's just the sweetest lady ever. Walking around, no mask or face shell, she's really, really lovely to talk to. If you ever get the chance, if you ever see the Fairy Godmother roaming around, be sure to stop and talk to her. She's just the nicest person I've ever spoken to in the parks. Very accurate to the screen. However, this unspeaking, unblinking monstrosity, she is not kindly. She will appear in the corner of your room at 3 a.m. on nights where you have trouble sleeping. Now, she doesn't really have the same towering height or scraggly fingers that Jafar has. I think the honest truth is that this one comes down to the eyes. The blue eyes that are just a perfectly round circle with those dark voids in the middle, looking both nowhere and into the pits of your soul all at the same time. I'm sure the cast member inside can work it so that the character is more friendly and more welcoming, but I am not going to walk up to this person on the street. No way, not even on the Fantasyland street. But don't worry, they recently updated the face shell on the non-face character version of the Fairy Godmother, and I guess it's a little better. It still keeps the creepiness factor of the previous one while looking slightly less corpse-like, so that's a plus. I will admit, it used to be like 15 out of 10 scary, and now it's only like a 9 out of 10 scary, so good job, Disney. Good job with that one. Animal Kingdom is a park that doesn't have a ton of character meet and greets or walk around characters at all. Sure, you can meet Minnie and Mickey, and then sometimes Kevin and Doug are walking around, and let me tell you, those two rascals, they're absolutely great. But there is another, hiding within the depths of Disney's Animal Kingdom, quite literally in the bushes and in the trees. My friends, I'm talking about the sleep paralysis demon that is Divine. Now, I think the spookiest part about Divine is that she blends so well into the surrounding foliage that you don't usually know you're coming up on her, or more often that she's approaching you until she is right there, right next to you. Then you look next to yourself, you say, oh, there's a moving bush, there's a woman. Okay, that's a very tall woman crawling around on stilts. She's not speaking. She doesn't speak. Divine is silent. Now, before I move on, I need to make something absolutely clear here. I do not dislike the cast members in these costumes. I do not dislike the idea of these characters. Divine, in theory, would be a really cool atmospheric character to just walk by. And I think if I saw her nowadays, I'd be less scared. But I haven't seen her in ages. The last time I saw her was back when I was a child, a young child. I feel like I would have an appreciation for Divine now, but just thinking back on those memories and watching these videos, she just sort of unnerves me deep down within my monkey brain. I know that she's a human, but the way that she moves and how she doesn't speak and the foliage that is part of her costume makes my monkey brain freak out and think that she might be a threat. She is, however, not a threat. Divine is wonderful and lovely and graceful and a bit scary. That's it though. That's it. I love Divine. I would just love to admire her from a distance, if you know what I'm saying. She's an amazing original Disney Parks character, a very, very talented cast member, just a little bit spooky. This next entry comes from my good friend Disney Dan. I reached out to Disney Dan when making this video because he knows so much, some would say too much, about Disney parks and Disney costumes. And I asked Dan, what is the scariest Disney costume that you have in the dark recesses of your mind? And Disney Dan answered me, and boy, did he answer me. I had to expand my horizons beyond just the parks or the cruise line. I had to expand it even further to shows like Disney on Ice. And let me tell you, my friends, when I took Disney on Ice into consideration, the costumes got far, far more creepy. Shall we begin with our good friend Lumiere? He's a candlestick, and he's not very scary at all, unless he's ice skating, in which case he's horrifying. Now, if you were to meet Lumiere at the Disney parks, he's not too bad. He's a giant candlestick that, yes, can be a little bit uncanny, but, you know, it's just a big version of Lumiere. Nothing too bad there. Disney on Ice, on the other hand, becomes extremely uncanny with the half mask, half real guy, and the perfectly sculpted mask at that, just painted onto the guy's face. It just does not look right. Now, this is an older costume. I do not believe they still use it on Disney on Ice, and thank goodness for that. The eyes, the mouth, the giant nose, I think, is what throws me off the most. And just like I said, the perfect sculpting of the costume contrasting with just the man's chin and mouth. It just looks so wrong. Now, I'm not horrified by this costume like the previous entries of the list. It's actually kind of endearing, kind of charming, and kind of funny how much of a swing and a miss this was. I get what they were trying to do, plus this is an ice skating show. The costumes have to be different than what you would see in the parks. Obviously, they have to make sure the performers are safe and that they can actually, you know, skate around in these costumes, but this was just such a bad idea. Here, for comparison, is what Lumiere looks like now on Disney on Ice, so you can see that they are very, very different. Now, I don't hate you, Lumiere, I just think you're a bit goofy looking, that's all. And while we may be leaving the rink for now, this is not the end of our Disney on Ice entries. Don't you worry, my friends. Onward to number 5. Back to the parks now. Is there any other walk-around Disney character that you can meet at specifically, usually, Disneyland that looks like he wants to eat you with big sharp teeth and a drooling, swaying tongue? That's right, number 5 on our list is the Big Bad Wolf from the Three Little Pigs cartoon. Now, the Big Bad Wolf is made to be scary. This is Disney's attempt at a scary character costume. All the other entries on this list aren't really designed or meant to be scary. Maybe a little bit intimidating in the case of some of the villains, but to be scary, to make young children scream, cry, and run away, that's the Big Bad Wolf. That is what the Big Bad Wolf does best, and that's what I think we need to highlight here. This is one of the only Disney Parks characters that is meant to invoke terror. I think all I really have to do with this one is just show you pictures. It proves my point for me. Also, why is this kid smiling? If I was this kid, I'd be halfway to Tomorrowland by now. Here's this one that feels like it's directly out of like a 2013-2014 era creepypasta. He just looks so out of place in that picture. And then there's a kid holding his hand down there. Also, he's not wearing a shirt. He's going completely topless here. That's just another whole other layer of terror that I don't want to get into here. And then this one, oh, dang, he's actually kind of looking slick in this one. Next photo. Yeah, that's more like it. Look at that, the gaping maw, the sharp teeth, the droopy tongue, and of course the guest, who is a victim here, screaming in absolute abject terror. Need I truly explain myself in this one? Is it just because maybe when I was a kid, I remember going to Epcot during the Millennium Celebration, seeing the double-decker bus driving around the World Showcase, and there, sitting on top, was the Big Bad Wolf, just staring at me with those unblinking eyes as they drove slowly past? Perhaps that could be the reason it's at number 5, but it's not at number 1, and it's certainly, my friends, it certainly isn't at number 4. Do you all remember last week's video? If you didn't watch it or you don't remember it, I'm going to put a card right up there in the corner. But the Wicked Witch in Snow White's Adventures and later Snow White's Scary Adventures is absolutely terrifying. This figure of her still haunts my dreams. The only comforting factor of this ride being that the witch would never reach out and touch you or, heaven forbid, give you a hug. That is not the case with number 4, because here is the Wicked Witch from Snow White, and she absolutely can follow you around, look at you, and if she wants wants to give you a nice hug. Now, the witch slash evil queen, real name Grimhilda, that's true, look it up, appears very rarely at the Disney parks. Most recently, she appeared at Oogie Boogie Bash last year, as far as I know. Not only is she the scariest Disney ride ever built incarnate, she also has the scraggly, scary finger gloves that Jafar has, so bonus points there. And as you can see here from this video taken by Finding Denny, I'll have a link to it in the description down below, the way she carries herself is just unnerving. She's trying to tempt you, I guess, of course, with the poison apple, but I just don't like the way that she looks and moves. Now, of course, you can meet the witch in her evil queen form way more often at Disneyland in the Magic Kingdom, and while, yes, she certainly is fairer than her witch counterpart, I don't think it's the looks that necessarily set these two apart. It's the fact that the witch one is unable to talk. That and, of course, the gloves. The witch can't speak. She has to communicate with body language, making encounters like this all the more common and all the more avoidable for me. No more Oogie Boogie Bash. It's not because I couldn't score any tickets, believe me. It's because I don't want to see the witch. That's why I can't go this year. Man, I love parades. Don't you just love parades? Recently we got the announcement that Paint the Night is returning to Disneyland. Are you kidding me? Magic Happens, I think, is one of the best daytime parades Disney has ever done. And then next year, we're getting Starlight over at Walt Disney World, a new nighttime parade for Disney World at last. I am so incredibly excited. And I'm here with you to share a little fun fact. A lot of people forget about the precursor to Paint the Night. That's right, I'm not talking about the Main Street Electrical Parade. That's where it all started. I'm talking, of course, about Spectromagic at the Magic Kingdom. One of the precursors, I should say. Spectromagic came after the Main Street Electrical Parade, but before Paint the Night at Disneyland, and it used new lights and new floats and new characters to tell a new story. And this parade was awesome. The problem begins to rear its head when the Spectromen appear. The Spectromen are my most vivid memory of visiting Walt Disney World as a child and being scared. The Spectromen terrified me. See, the Spectromen are the new original characters that are featured in Spectromagic, doing all of the in-between jobs that the Disney characters themselves aren't doing. And there are two kinds. You have the ones which are just cast members with their faces painted with a little bit of prosthetics here and there, and then you have the ones with the face shell. I'm talking about the ones with the face shell here. This is just another case of an uncanny character that is sort of humanoid wearing a humanoid face shell. I don't know if the Spectromen are human. Looking at this picture though, I couldn't tell you. What's with the hair? The way they move around is also just a little bit unnerving. They just kind of flail around, rolling around on top of these glowing spheres. It's almost like they're being held captive, like they don't want to be there. This is another entry that I believe stems from early childhood. I couldn't comprehend the Spectromen. I didn't know what they were trying to be, and what they wanted to do to me. They seemed nefarious, and watching these videos back, they still look nefarious. Not just with the hair and the weird face shells, but the glowing hair, the way they're moving around. It just doesn't sit right with me, and all of this comes together to make the third scariest character I can think of. That might be the reason, actually. The other entries on this list are either creepy looking or they're villains. They're meant to be scary. These characters are sort of like tricksters. You don't know whose side they're on, and they're bright, they're colorful. It's like they're trying to mislead you. These Spectromen are not kind characters. They're not evil characters. They are here to cause nothing but chaos, and that, my friends, is the scariest thought of all. The Spectromen have no goals. They are just here to cause panic. And to be fair, every time I see one, that's exactly what it does. Do you remember when I said we were going to revisit Disney on Ice and that Lumiere wouldn't be our last foray into the world? Well, here we are. And my friends, I hope you have prepared yourselves for this one, because this is just so wrong. Okay, Moana, okay, fantastic movie. Great cast, great music, wonderful animation. No complaints about Moana. Moana, The Journey of Water at Epcot has nothing to do with this list. I just like to talk about it. Moana on Disney on Ice, pretty solid. Maui, you know, his park's costume is essentially the same. It's not amazing, but I get what they were going for. Moana, she's great. Grandma Tala, she looks like a mummy. And this, my friends, is a publicity still. This is meant to be flattering. Let's go ahead and look at the costume on the ground, how it really appears during the show. So I don't know what they were going for with this one, Honestly, Grandma Tala in the film is just so nice and sweet, and if there were a contest for the coolest characters from Moana, she would take second. Hey being in first place, of course. But this is not the move, Disney. She does not look sweet or cool. Hey is definitely number one now. And again, I get why they had to do it the way that they did. It's Disney on Ice. You have to get creative with the costumes. I just don't know why they did it at all, if this is gonna be the result we got. Something else that adds to making this character more mysterious than she should be is Grandma Tala on Disney on Ice is like a cryptid. There are only maybe 4 or 5 different videos of her out there on the internet. In pictures, there's like maybe 3. She is very hard to find, and I think for good reason. I think Disney is trying to bury this costume. Remember that publicity still I showed you at the very beginning of this entry? That's a dream compared to the grandma I've been showing you for the past 2 minutes. Let's just go back to that and enjoy our time here for as long as we have it. So much. Oh, okay, no, she's back. All right, we gotta go quick to number 1. Well, my friends, now that our journey has about run its course, it's time for us to travel back in time, back to the past, back when Disney costumes weren't as technologically advanced as they are today. Something completely new, something completely different, something that was cobbled together from fabric someone had in their mom's closet. These costumes are the scariest of the scary. And that's right, I'm not saying this costume, I'm saying these costumes, because back in 1955 when Disneyland first opened, the whole character meet and greet aspect of the park was a horror show. It left a little bit to be desired in terms of friendly, cuddly characters. More characters you'd see in back alleys handing out illicit substances. These are the characters you would see at Disneyland in 1955. These are the kinds of characters you would see in 1955 Disneyland. Honestly, you could just take your pick with any of the early Disneyland character costumes. All of them were horrifying in their own special ways. You had the Mickey Mouse with the cut-up face, you had a weird human-looking Donald Duck, you had a very short rubber Minnie Mouse that looks like she's melting in the sun, but this one's actually kind of adorable, dang it. Look at her little parasol. And then, of course, this Minnie Mouse, who looks like she crawled out of the cartoon screen in a bad way. Also, the bow is supposed to go on your head, Minnie. It's supposed to go on your head. It wasn't until the 60s rolled around that we got less terrifying versions of these characters. This Mickey is a classic. He's not scary at all. He looks like how I would picture Mickey Mouse in the real world to look. This is not how I want to meet my Mickey Mouses, on the other hand. These costumes come from the Ice-capades. If you didn't know, sort of a precursor to Disney on Ice, where Disney would officially license out these characters to take part in ice skating shows across America. And so when Disneyland opened and Disney didn't have money to make their own character costumes, they instead used the old Ice-capade costumes for the theme park. And, you know, these things are meant to be seen at a distance. I would not like to meet, nor would I like to greet, either of these characters. Side note, also, can someone tell me where this photo was taken? Was it at an Ice-capades show, or is this somewhere in Fantasyland? That brick wall is giving me Fantasyland vibes. I really need to know. Unlike Grandma Tala, though, on the other hand, there are tons of pictures of these Mickey and Minnie costumes, so I could just keep showing these to you all day if I wanted to. However, I value you, I value your time, and I value your sanity, so I'm not gonna be doing that. Okay, you know, just one more. Here are Minnie and Mickey at the premiere for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs at the original Carthay Circle Theater. You know, yeah, this one might be even worse than the Ice-capades. You know what that sort of reminds me? I think I have something lying. Oh, here it is. This little guy right here. This certainly reminds me of those creepy Snow White costumes that I just showed you. This Mickey Mouse, something is wrong with it. I don't know what, but just the way it's been looking at me. See you all in the end card, and I'll take this with me. Hello everybody, welcome to the end card for this week's video. I sure hope you enjoyed watching this top 10 list of the scariest Disney characters that you can meet in the parks, or I guess on the rink, the ice rink. This is actually a remake of a video I made a couple of years ago. I believe I improved upon it, and I wouldn't have been able to do this video without my good friend Disney Dan. I'm going to tell you all to head over to his channel and check it out if you want more Disney costume videos. I also couldn't do this video without all of the TikTokers and all of the source videos I will link down in the description below, because these people document all of these crazy costumes for me to report on. So thank you to everyone down there. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button, and if you're new around here and you want more videos like this one, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. You can also join me over at patreon.com/offhanddisney. For even just $1 a month, you get access to most of the perks like early video access, exclusive video access, and your name in the credits at the end of the last video of every month. That's right, it's the last video of every month. That's when the credits happen. Or perhaps you'd rather just follow me for free, which you can do on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Offhand Disney. I'm on all of those platforms. I threw in a new one there at the very end in case you didn't notice, just in case. So if you don't want to pledge any money, you just want to follow me on other social medias, those will be the spot. But everybody, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you all in next week's video. Goodbye.